Hello everyone, welcome back to Blacksmith Studios. My name is Jack and today I will be doing a pre-write for Fantastic Four First Steps. So I'll be basing this pre-write based on all of the trailer footage that we've had already, and to clarify, this does not tie into my Avengers Doomsday pre-write I did previously. So I did an Avengers Doomsday, an Avengers Secret Wars, and a Spider-Man King in Black pitch, and I'm going to be giving out a Doctor Strange 3 pitch soon. That all ties together. This is separate, so just to give myself a bit of freedom in this pitch, and to be honest, I will kind of specify this anyway. But regardless, this is just for fun, so let's get into it. So we open on the Ted Gilbert Show as a crowd cheers. Ted introduces himself and begins talking about the Fantastic Four, explaining how they went up into space 4 years prior to take the energy from a cosmic storm. As they went up, the storm hit them, and the four came home with new and strange abilities. The storm's energy was later synthesized to bring renewable clean energy to the entire world. While on Earth, New York was attacked by Giganto and the Mole Man from Subterranea, and the Fantastic Four saved the city. After defeating Mole Man, they sealed the entrance to Subterranea, keeping him trapped there forever. We see images and videos of these events happening, as well as some other villains that the Fantastic Four had faced, and he goes on to talk about how much the Fantastic Four have done for this world, with Sue introducing the Future Foundation, bringing science to children all around the world, and not only that, but integrating world peace. And of course, Reed Richards being the scientist and inventor of the century. As he does this, he introduces them onto the stage with thunderous applause. As the Fantastic Four arrive on stage, however, their watches begin to beep, alerting them to a threat. They run outside and head to Times Square with Johnny flying overhead, and the rest hop into the Fantastic car. Once at Times Square, they see apes wielding weapons attacking the civilians, so the four fight back, capturing some of the apes and helping as many people as possible. Reed recognizes the apes and he gets the team over to the clean power facility he had set up as he sees the Red Ghost attempting to break in. Reed realizes that Red Ghost only wanted to use the ape attack as a distraction, but of course didn't work. Red Ghost tells Reed that he needs to use the power plant to stop something coming. Red Ghost explains that he has done the calculations and he believes that Earth will die. The four take down the Red Ghost and have him captured. Red Ghost goes off screaming about an impending doom before he is taken away. Reed is concerned with Red Ghost's warning. He had known the Red Ghost for years as one of the best scientists he had ever met in his time in Russia. So if he has a warning, Reed wants to listen to it. Reed and the Red Ghost even had a space race to see who would be the first to go into space, and of course the Fantastic Four won, leaving Red Ghost humiliated and banished by his own country. The four head back to the Baxter Building as Reed goes onto the research floor of the Baxter Building and begins his research. He doesn't know what he's looking for, but he's looking for something. Meanwhile, Ben Grimm is out in a cafe with Alicia Masters, his blind girlfriend. They laugh and giggle with each other, and it is clear that these two are truly in love. Eventually, the day ends and Alicia is walked home by Ben. Ben begins to walk back to the Baxter Building as children cheer for him as he walks past. Ben walks by a store as he sees himself on a TV screen. Before he becomes the Thing, Ben has accepted his appearance now, but he still struggles with it and misses how he used to look. He misses life before the fame because while there are people who appreciate and accept him now, there are still those who don't. We then cut to Reed back in the lab, building and designing something new. Sue walks in and recognizes this Reed Richards, the stressed, concerned, want to save the world kind of Reed. She approaches him and asks what he's doing. Reed shows a space station-like device powered by an energy pulse from the Earth itself. He calls it the Bridge, and it will allow travel to the furthest corners of the universe. Sue asks Reed whether anyone could come back, and Reed explains that wherever the bridge will take you, on the other side there will be a wormhole, warped space, which will allow you to travel back through the bridge. Sue is impressed by this, but concerned for Reed. She asks if he's okay, but Reed brushes this off and just explains that he's fine and he just wants to break the boundaries of space. Sue tells Reed that she wants him close to Earth for a while, and Reed asks for how long. There's a silence as Reed turns to her as she holds out a pregnancy test, revealing that she's pregnant. Reed's worries vanish as he hugs and kisses Sue, ecstatic because of the news. We cut to Ben and Herbie cooking dinner as Johnny sits down and has some cereal. Johnny complains and mocks Reed, stating that he always tells them to be in the Baxter building on time for Sunday dinner, but here they are, and Reed and Sue are late. Reed and Sue finally arrive and they reveal the news to the team. They are having a baby. We see the family together, laughing, joking, and enjoying their time together. They start throwing out names. Johnny suggests Johnny Jr., while Sue shuts down that idea straight away and suggests the name Valeria for a girl or Franklin for a boy, after her father. She looks at Johnny and holds hands with him. Johnny tells Sue that their dad would be proud and would love that name. After dinner, Sue and Reed go to bed and begin talking about Reed's frantic work earlier. Reed explains how he is actually worried about what the Red Ghost had said, and that he is concerned that there is something in space that can be unstoppable to them. Reed goes on to explain how he feels guilt for the Fantastic Four gaining their powers, stripping them of normal life. Sue tells Reed to not feel this guilt, that Ben has always been a rock, Johnny has always been a hothead, and Sue, although she can become invisible, she's always there. She then playfully smacks the back of his head and says, but if I ask you what's wrong, then don't lie to me next time. Reed laughs and they embrace. The next morning, Reed gathers the team and explains his plan to create the bridge, and how they're going to use it to explore other galaxies. Sue asks Reed if this is still due to his concerns, but Reed explains how this is just so that they can expand their journey through the universe. Sue accepts his response as Johnny screams in excitement to go into space again. We see a montage of Reed creating pillars and the station itself, eventually launching the station up into space. The plan is to use pillars and place them in areas around the planet where Reed has set up power stations, of course, using these pillars to power the bridge, which will be this station held in space. After months of work, the team is ready to launch. The night before, however, the team had Sunday dinner again. They celebrate the accomplishment they have made, and they confirm their mission plans. Go into space, head to the bridge, and test it. The team finish their meal and look out at the New York skyline and embracing its beauty. The team turn to head back inside as their watches begin to beep again. They turn to see the sky glowing orange. Reed notices something descending and asks Herbie to tell him what it is. Herbie pulls up a hologram of the Silver Surfer. Johnny makes an inappropriate comment on her looks and flames on towards Times Square. The rest of the team hop into the Fantastic Car and follow suit. They arrive and stand over the seal, commemorating their fight against Mole Man 4 years prior. They team up. The team step out and witness the Silver Surfer descend. She says, I herald his beginning, I herald your end, I herald Galactus. The Surfer notices the four and asks if they are the protectors of this world, to which Sue responds, yes. And the Surfer tells them that their planet is marked for death. Reed asks the Surfer who she is. She explains that her name is Shala Bal, the Silver Surfer and herald to Galactus. The four ask who Galactus is, to which the Surfer explains that he is a being older than the universe itself, being born in the universe that came before this one. Reed is shocked to hear that there is actually a being capable of being older than existence itself. Reed asks what Galactus wants, and she explains that he is a devourer of worlds, and his hunger can never be stopped. Sue begs the Surfer, asking how they can stop Galactus, but she tells him that there is no stopping him. She turns and flies into space. Reed gives Johnny a small disc, a tracking device, and tells him to chase her down. Johnny flames on and flies into the upper atmosphere, putting everything he has into his speed. He finally catches up to the Surfer and attaches the tracking device, only for her to throw Johnny off as he hurls to the ground. Johnny meets back with the four and tells them that the Surfer was fast, but he managed to put the tracker on her. The four head back to the Baxter building, and Reed tracks the Surfer, realizing that she is already on the other end of their solar system. Reed realizes that this is the perfect opportunity to use the bridge. News reporters attempt to speak to the four, but they refuse as they board the Excelsior, their rocket ship. Sue is concerned, but Reed explains that this Surfer has threatened their planet and they need to stop this Galactus, and it's better to do it before he gets to Earth. Sue explains that if they can at least reason with whatever this being is, then they can hopefully stop a problem before it starts. Reed accepts Sue's suggestion, but explains that if it turns into a fight, then she should stay out of it. She is close to her due date at this point. Sue agrees, and the Excelsior launches. Reed turns on the monitor, and the pillars on Earth around the world fire a beam into the atmosphere and charge the bridge. Reed targets the bridge to transport them to the Surfer's location, and they head into the vortex. They appear on the other side as a wormhole forms, allowing them to return back to Earth. The Excelsior ship flies through an asteroid field until it reaches an enormous ship, seemingly the same size as Earth itself, the Tar-2. The Surfer arrives in front of their ship, telling the four that Galactus expected them to chase her down. The Excelsior lands and the four head out. The Surfer leads them to Galactus, who sits on a throne-like device, feeding energy into himself. The four are shocked at the sheer magnitude of Galactus and how enormous he is. Galactus is annoyed that the four dare intrude. Sue tries to reason with Galactus, however he explains that he must feed, and Earth has enough life on it that would easily satisfy his hunger for some time. As Sue continues, she begins to struggle. When Reed asks what is happening, she whispers that she's going into labour. Reed panics and tells her that they need to leave. Galactus is confused by what is happening until an energy wave appears from Sue. Galactus and the Surfer feel it as well, realizing that whatever she is giving birth to has enormous power. Galactus tells the four that he wants Sue. That power will satisfy his eternal hunger forever. Galactus tells the four that if they offer Sue, he will spare their world. But the four decline and try and escape. But Galactus tells the Surfer to grab the child within Sue. So the Surfer flies out after them, but Johnny tries to fight back. The Surfer is knocked back by the thing, and the four board the Excelsior and blast off. Johnny gets in a gunner turret and fires energy bolts at the Surfer as Ben flies the ship back to the wormhole. They struggle to get through the asteroid field, and the Surfer keeps phasing in and out of the ship and trying to grab Sue's child. Reed and Sue try to fight back as Sue begins to push. Ben finally makes it to the wormhole and Reed begins shutting down the bridge. They enter the wormhole and the Surfer chases them, but the ship finally manages to reach the other side and Reed closes the bridge before the Surfer reaches them. The Excelsior heads towards Earth slowly as Sue finally gives birth to a baby boy. She tells the group that his name is Franklin, and the baby begins to glow. Reed's monitors realize that the energy signature is off the charts. This worries him. Lights flicker and suddenly a large figure appears in the ship. The team are on edge and prepare to fight until the being introduces itself. I am Uatu the Watcher, and I bring a warning. Reed asks what he is. Uatu explains that he watches every universe in the multiverse, and in most universes, Galactus eats their world. But this time, Uatu wants to help. Uatu tells Reed that Galactus and his Surfer are beings that use an energy called the Power Cosmic. Uatu tells Reed that he is the smartest man alive and only he can figure out how to defeat them. Reed tells Uatu that he doesn't know how to stop Galactus. He needs more readings on his energy to use that against him. Uatu tells Reed that he has all the reading he needs as he points to baby Franklin. Reed asks why is he helping him. Uatu uses his powers and shows other versions of Earth as Galactus destroys them. He explains that Galactus has destroyed countless versions of Earth, but this, Reed Richards, has a chance, Franklin. Uatu points out that Galactus wants Franklin, but Reed can turn that against him. Reed asks for more advice, but Uatu explains that all he can do is advise Reed. It is up to him to fix the problem. Suddenly, he disappears and the team are in shock. We see the Excelsior land and the team enter the Baxter building, with several reporters trying to find out if they have solved this Galactus problem, and whether they are safe. Reed turns to them, telling them that he doesn't know, as he leaves with the team to their personal quarters. As Reed spends time in his research area, Sue begins to enjoy time with Franklin. Reed notices the monitors warning that Galactus' ship, the Tar-2, is slowly approaching and is due on Earth tomorrow. Reed grabs his blackboard and begins doing his calculations and realizes that he can try and transport the Earth itself. He begins to type on his monitor as he remotely connects to all of the pillars around the world and connects with the bridge, hoping to use the energy to warp the Earth through it and far away from Galactus. The team approach Reed in his lab and ask what he's doing. Reed explains the situation and states that he can try and move the entirety of Earth, and the team are concerned by this, but Reed reassures them that he can move the Earth to a position in space that is in the perfect conditions for Earth to thrive. So the team agree, but state that they need to get approval from the world leaders. So, Reed heads to the Future Foundation, and him and Sue begin a call with world leaders of the United Kingdom, America, Russia, France, India, Japan, China, and others. Reed requests permission to use the bridge to transport Earth far away from Galactus, stating that he is drawn to Earth even more, knowing that his child has enough power to satisfy his hunger. The world leaders suggest Reed give up the child, but Reed refuses. Sue steps in and tries to reason with the world leaders, explaining that this will work. The world leaders agree and ask Reed to wait for Latveria to agree as well, but he refuses because he has a complicated history with their leader. The world leaders accept Reed's plan and begin firing energy into their respective pillars. It's nighttime at the Baxter building now, and Reed activates all of the pillars and activates the bridge. The Earth begins to warp and twist, slowly moving towards the bridge, but suddenly there is an overload and the entire world's power supply shuts down. Reed quickly cuts the signal, deactivating the pillars. Reed is devastated that he has failed, and he doesn't know what to do. Sue brings Reed out of the lab, and they spend some quality time with Franklin, enjoying life a little. Reed is still worried, but Sue helps him relax. As Reed, Sue, and Franklin lie in bed, it hits him. Reed grabs Franklin and does a quick scan on his energy, realizing it is the same as Galactus and the Surfer. Reed figures out how to stop Galactus and starts designing a weapon, a device called the Ultimate Nullifier. Sue tells Reed that if Galactus arrives, he is coming after Franklin, so the team need to come together and figure out a plan. So, the plan is, Sue goes down into Subterranea and asks Mole Man to help evacuate the city. Then, when Galactus arrives, the team need to set up these control rods created by Reed that will create a field of Franklin's energy. Then, the Ultimate Nullifier can use this energy field and destroy the Surfer and Galactus, using their own power against them. The team agrees and Reed continues his work, while Sue and Ben head into Subterranea. They meet the Mole Man, who is more decrepit than he was before. Sue tries to convince Mole Man to help them with an evacuation, telling him that if Galactus destroys the world, he will die too. Sue agrees that he will ask Reed to help Mole Man not suffer with the sunlight anymore and allow him to come up to the surface. Mole Man thanks Sue and agrees to help. The next morning, Johnny plants all of the control rods around the city as Reed prepares the final touches on the Ultimate Nullifier. We cut back to Tar-2 as Galactus instructs the Surfer to fly to Earth and find the child. She obeys as Tar-2 slowly creeps closer and closer to Earth. The Surfer arrives and spots the Fantastic Four and begins to attack. The Four fight back, but the Surfer is far too powerful. The Surfer then phases into Sue, realizing that the baby is no longer inside of her. Suddenly, Tar-2 arrives and Galactus lands. He shrinks and begins searching the city. The Surfer flies to Galactus, warning him that the child has been born and is elsewhere. The team asks Reed how long he needs, and he explains that they need to slow Galactus whilst he throws a control rod into Galactus's body. Then he needs some time to calibrate and fire the energy pulse to kill him and the Surfer. Ben knocks down all of the pillars to a skyscraper, allowing Reed to use his powers, zipping quickly from the debris as it falls, and he stabs a control rod into Galactus. He turns into a parachute and lands safely. Reed grabs the nullifier and activates the energy field as it calibrates. Galactus feels the presence of Franklin and slowly approaches the Baxter building. The Four throw everything they have at Galactus to stop him, but Galactus blasts energy back at them, and the Surfer swoops in to fight off the Four as well. Galactus eventually arrives at the Baxter building as the Surfer distracts the Four. Sue begs the Surfer for help, and she hesitates, but she is not completely swayed yet. Galactus looks into the window of the Baxter building, and Herbie stands in front of Franklin to protect him. Galactus' giant head breaks into the building, but at that moment, the energy field is ready, and Reed activates the Ultimate Nullifier, weakening Galactus instantly. The nullifier begins to work, but Galactus is even more powerful than anticipated. As Galactus' energy is drained, he grows angrier and angrier until he emits an energy wave that blasts outward, throwing skyscrapers and the Four far away. Herbie is knocked down as well, and Galactus grabs Franklin. Sue begs Galactus to spare her son, but he declines and teleports back to the Tar-2. The Surfer approaches the Four and offers her assistance, realizing that she is doing something terribly wrong. She explains that Galactus threatened her homeworld, and she has a child of her own that she wants to save, so she feels Sue's pain. The four jump on the surface board and they fly towards Tartu. Galactus begins to absorb the energy of Franklin, but the Surfer and four arrive just in time. The Surfer distracts and fights off Galactus while the four grab Franklin and float back to Earth using Sue's force field and Johnny's flight powers. The four land and Reed sees the Tartu fire pipes into the Earth as it begins to transform it into energy for Galactus to consume. We hear Galactus announce that if he can't have the child, then he will have their world. Galactus sits on his throne and begins to feed. We see the Surfer on the ground on his ship, dead. Reed figures out a new plan. He activates the bridge again, targeting the Tartu and sending it to the furthest reaches of space. He realizes that he can use Franklin's energy to give the bridge enough power, so he heads to the Baxter building and puts Franklin into a small pod, absorbing his power and blasting it across the planet, activating the pillars and activating the bridge. As the bridge turns on and begins sucking in the Tartu, Reed hopes that this finally works and they can send Galactus as far away from Earth as possible. Reed remembers the people of Earth celebrating them, admiring the Fantastic Four for everything they have done. Then he thinks to when they arrive back on Earth after coming into contact with Galactus for the first time. The world wanted Reed to give up his only son, their new family member, just to save the Earth. But Reed refused. He will not sacrifice family. He can do both. He can save the Earth and save his family. The Tartu slowly moves closer to the bridge and begins to warp. It's working. They finally won. Then came the moment Reed will think about for the rest of his life. As the energy of the Earth is drained, explosions occur around the world, destroying several of the pillars that powers the bridge, shutting the bridge down. We cut to the people of New York in Subterranea, protected and hidden until an explosion from below floods the caves, killing them all. The Fantastic Four hears the screams, and they look to each other, devastated. They see a vision of the Watcher in the sky. He shouts to the four to run and escape. The four do as they're told. They board the Excelsior and blast off again, flying past the Tartu and looking back at Earth as it explodes. The team watch in horror and begin to cry. Sue asks what they can do, but Reed is lost for words. Reed looks to Franklin and puts him in another pod on the Excelsior, using Franklin's energy to power the bridge once again, and they fly through, escaping Galactus for good. There's a flash of light, and the team find themselves looking in deep space. They float for a while and they console each other, telling each other that they did all they could. At that moment, the ship turns and we see Earth, but not the Earth that they've come from. Reed realizes that Franklin's powers have actually sent them to another universe. The team is shocked as they fly closer and closer. We pan down to the surface as we go underground to a facility as a monitor shows the Excelsior arriving in this new universe. We then see Charles Xavier, Binary, Beast, and Monica Rambeau as they see the Fantastic Four ship slowly approach. We cut back to the Fantastic Four holding each other as they approach Earth 10,005. In an end credit scene, we see Latveria, slowly erupting in flames from the destruction of Earth. Doom looks on, furious, blaming Reed Richards for failing to save the planet and failing to contact him when the Earth was in danger. Dr. Doom takes the Darkhold, the last copy in the multiverse, as he uses his magic to transport Latveria away. But it's too late for him as well. And Doom vows to avenge Latveria as his world slowly collapses in on itself. He escapes through a rift in reality. He wakes up in a new universe as he witnesses a universe slowly approaching above him. He looks around and we see that he has arrived on Earth 838. Doom once again vows to find Reed and kill him and stop the destructions of worlds. We cut to black. And yeah, that's it, guys. I do hope you enjoyed that video. I'm sorry about my voice. It's really raspy because I've got a sore throat at the moment. But I really do hope you enjoyed this Fantastic Four pitch. I did a version of the ending where the world wasn't destroyed, but I felt that it was definitely not what I think will happen in the film. So I scratched it, re-recorded it, and here we are on this new ending. It is very similar to how it ends for my Avengers Doomsday pitch, so I would suggest checking that out. It kind of does fit in slightly, but not too much, so it depends on whether you want to interpret it as part of the story or separate. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you did like this video, then please like and subscribe and check out my other pitches. I did an Avengers Doomsday one, a Spider-Man 4 King and Black one, and an Avengers Secret Wars one. So please check them out. And we got a special announcement coming soon, which I will announce as soon as I'm able to. But anyway, thank you all again so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.